Okay, so far I've covered a lot of setup, a lot of onboarding, a lot of defaults, things like that, overviews. Now we're going to jump into the meat and potatoes. We're going to jump into the property details. Now, the property details pages are set up the same regardless of phase. There's just a few differences because, hey, what we care about when it's a lead versus a sold property or a rehab are different. We don't always want to see all the data. We don't want to see everything. It kind of clutters it up some. So we try to limit it a little bit. But I'm going to go in and go into a lead first. So if you don't already have any pictures for the property, when you load the property the first time, we're going to grab the Google Street View if it exists for the property. So everybody knows how this is, but I just have to say it anyways. Google Street View isn't guaranteed to be the actual view in front of the property. Sometimes Google doesn't know where the address is, um, but it helps. It can help when we're talking to sellers. So you see that in the upper left. Right above that, I have the address. I have a general information section. This section changes based on phase every time these change. Down below that, I have tags. This is where we can tag properties. If I don't have a tag in there yet and I want to add it, I just put it in, hit enter, and it's going to add it. If I want to remove a tag, I just exit and it closes it down. I just realized I forgot two things in the upper right. Right here, this will open, if I click this, it'll open up Google Maps in a different tab. So if I want to do a little bit of look on Google Maps, it's nice and easy and it's big enough to actually see. Same with Zillow. We try to take the address and pull the Zillow link. Sometimes we don't have the right address or sometimes Zillow doesn't have it. So there's always a possibility you won't see it, but we try to make it helpful. But coming down further, the notes section most of the time will show the most recent note. Now, when it doesn't is because you have no notes, like in this case, or you've pinned notes. So if there's a note that is like, hey, you want to make sure everybody sees, you don't want it to get buried down under other notes. Over on the right, I'll show in a minute, you can actually pin notes so that they always show up here in the main section of the property. Property insights, just some insights into the property where you can put your property type, your dispo strategy, etc. Financial information, you've got your ARV, their asking price, estimated wholesale price, market rent, etc. Not everybody's going to use all these fields. We know that. It's fine. We're not expecting everybody to use all these fields, but we want fields that people are going to use to be available for those that are going to use them. Some purchase information, rental. Hey, it's kind of nice to know if there's a tenant. Yeah, their lease started October 1st of 2019 and it's on a month to month now. Okay, so we'll put it at the end of the month or whatever the case is. Down below here are different sections where we have multiple things related to this property. So any tasks that are related to this property will show up here. By default, we're just going to show things that are new or in progress because most of the time you don't care about things that are completed. You just want to be able to go in and find them if you need, but you don't need to see them every time. You can search if you've got a bunch of tasks here, you can search by the task name or who it's assigned to. You can also sort by any of the columns right here. If I add a task, I can select task template. And I see I've got it right here. I've got one renegotiate with seller assigned to John Nolan. It's new. This is when it's due. If I want to complete it, I can just hit complete here. If I want to edit and come in and change the due date or the description or something else, I can do that here. Or if I just want it, like I want to right now, I just want to delete it, I can delete it. E-signatures. E-signature is built into Peat. It's another short video, but another video and help article on us getting your contract put into Peat so you have it as a template. But once you have it in there, it's very, very simple. This is where you can send them, you can check the status of them, you can view them. Your rehab scope section. So you can select when it's starting, when it ended, your size, and then you can set your or create your actual rehab scope. Now, this can be done a few ways. the way it's set up right now is very detailed, but I know that not everybody goes in and says, okay, I need four doors, I need carpet in this part of the house, I need tile here, I need this. There's some of y'all that go, okay, that's $40 a foot, period. $40 a foot plus an HVAC, that's going to be 8 grand, or whatever the case is. There's also some of y'all that go in and go, okay, I need a kitchen, so that's going to be 10,000. I need a bathroom, so that's going to be 7,000. I need a half bath, so it's going to be 4,000. But I'm just making up numbers. But no matter how you're estimating your rehab, this section can be customized to show it the way you want it. So right now we've got it kind of grouped. I can expand these groups and I see different items. So like, you know, decking shouldn't be square feet, but um, I can put in, let's say a number and save it. It automatically calculates right here and up top. If I need drywall, replace all the drywall in the house. And well, let's say it's a 2,000 square foot house, but I only need to do it in half the house. I can put in 1,000. Boom, it puts it in. These can be deleted. You can add your own. You can also set up in a different part of the system. If you don't want to do it like this, you can remove all these so it's not in the template at all. And you could do $20 a foot, $30 a foot, 40. HVAC, you know, however you want to do it, however you are setting up your rehab scopes. I have what I think is the best way. I think very detailed is the best overall. Are there situations where other methods are easier, better? Of course. And however you're going to do it, or however your students are, however you're showing them to handle their rehab scopes and their estimating, they can do it in here, can be set up for that. Lock boxes. Hey, I know wholesalers and flippers that use one code and that's it. I know some that use a different code for every house. Um, hey, if you use one code for everywhere, you don't really need this. But if you're tracking and you keep track of, okay, lockbox blank has the code 1234, but this other lockbox has a code of 8832. You can keep track of your lockboxes here. I don't have any built into this demo system. If I wanted to add one, I could come in, say what its identifier is, put the code, and save it, and it would apply it to this property, so it's easy to track it. Mortgages, you can put in basic info about mortgage, whether it's the seller's or yours. Um, you know, who the mortgagor is, the original principal, the current principal, DSCR, LTV, etc. Now, it's not going to calculate what your current principal is today versus yesterday. It's not that smart yet. I'm sure we'll get there. But it gives a way to kind of track that. Let me move my little video here. Workflows are your automations. I could spend a lot of time talking just about workflows, but what I'm going to break down right now is just these tabs under workflow. So waiting is where you go when you're initially open this. This is any workflow that is created by the system automatically, or you manually came in and added one, and it's sitting there running or waiting to run. Done, self-explanatory. Canceled, self-explanatory. If there's an error on one, it shows over there. But system is where you can set workflows that'll happen on every property regardless of their phase or status. So, a workflow sequence to send email, text, and phone calls to a long-term follow-up, something you would have here in waiting. You wouldn't want that running no matter what. But a workflow that handles missed calls, that would be one that's in the system. One that automatically moves properties to the purchase phase, that could be one that's in the system. So you're always running workflows. Most of the time, you're not going to be in here looking at this. If you want to apply a sequence manually, you'll come in here, you'll be on waiting, you'll hit the plus, select the sequence, save it, and then you let it run. Property history, we track a lot of the property history, so I deleted the task. People can't delete tasks and go, oh, it was never assigned to me. I never had one. Bullshit. Here we go. I can see it right here. Oops. I adjusted my video. The task was added right here. I can see the original values, which since it was new, it was blank. The new values. So if I just assigned it to somebody else, I would have an updated task and it would show me what the old value was versus the new. And then here I deleted the task. So less, it's there to help hold people accountable, but it's also there if you're like, what the hell? How the hell did I do that? You come in here and look and see what happened. Projects, if you have project management or RodyPM built into your subscription, you can see any projects that are tied to this property right here, or you can create new ones as well. I don't have any templates in this system, so it's blank. But we tried to get everything you could possibly need for a property that's in that specific phase on the screen or accessible from the screen. Almost done here. I know this one's turned into a long video. Coming back to the upper right, this blue section, we see that we are currently in the lead phase. If we wanted to manually move to another phase, we can adjust that here, and it's going to ask, hey, any tasks, appointments, workflows, do you want them to keep going, or do you just want to go ahead and stop and then create new for moving forward? It's not a trick question. Now, let's say you're in the purchase phase and you want to go back and see something that was on the lead phase. Let's say you want to see the campaign. If I came in here and selected lead, if I was in the purchase, I would have a button here that says view phase. So that way you're not changing the phase of the property. You're just going back to see some information from that time. Right here, right below that, we have our contact section. So we have seller, buyer, contractor, and tenant. So any phone calls, incoming phone calls from those people, or if we're outgoing from here, as long as it's not from this phone book up here, are going to show up down here in conversations because they're linked here as a seller, buyer, contractor, or tenant. Click the button, you can select any existing contact. If it's not a contact that's in there already, you can create them. First name, last name, email, phone, the information that you have. This address below it, notice it's blank even though I know I have an address right here. This is for the contact's mailing address. So if they live in another state and they're absentee owner, it helps to have both their addresses sometimes. If it's a tenant, I can click plus, and notice it puts relationship tenant right here because they're a tenant. Notes. Earlier I mentioned that notes will show up. The most recent note will show up on the left, but then you can also pin them. I'm going to create a test note. And then I'm going to create a note 2. So we default to show or group them by date. Makes it a little bit easier, and so you're not seeing a ton of junk all the time. I can expand if they're a long note, then I'll have the 3 little dots here where I can expand it. But let's say I want to search, and a common example of search is the hot water tank, the roof, those things that our acquisitions people hopefully are documenting and asking and putting in there, but then later we're like, oh God, how old is the roof? Do we have gas on at that house, or is it electric only? Things like that, the notes can be helpful. You just type in and then you get results. So if I said my name, boom, already it knows that there's not a note with that text in there. If there is, I can expand this and I can see them. Now, the most recent note is what's showing over here in the center, and it's note 2 because it was the second one. But if I want a test note to always show up there, all I do over here on the right is click this little thumbtack push pin, and now it pins this note over here to this main section. If I want to have more than one pinned, that's fine. I select another one. So makes it easy to see those. Now, if you need to delete a note, delete, delete. Once again, people can't just delete things and say, no, I didn't do it. There was never a note there. Oh, here we go. Pinned, unpinned, deleted, etc. Conversations, your history of your phone calls. If it's a phone call, you'll see the icon on the left where there's incoming, outgoing, voicemail, missed, etc. Um, you'll be able to listen to the phone calls there if you're recording phone calls. If you're having them transcribed, the transcriptions will be there just below them. Your text messages, along with any attachments that come through, will be in there as well. And then any outgoing emails you'll be able to see. So it's really nice to see all your conversations from or with the seller all in one place. Now, let's say there's two sellers. There's a husband and a wife. Instead of having to go look at the husband, then you have to go in another window to look at the wife or somebody else. They're all right there in time order, so you're not having to jump between them. Appointments, pretty self-explanatory. The teams are customizable. Not everybody has lead managers. Not everybody has acquisition managers. I know people that are like, you do not call them acquisition managers. They're acquisition specialists. Awesome. You can rename it however you want. You can add, you can remove. The team roles are completely customizable. Right now, what we see is we don't have anybody assigned to them, but the default team role with this little star is the lead manager. So if let's say, task template was set up to assign a task of return phone call to the default team role, this is where it would go. So this is where basically think of your owner of the lead at that point, or of the property at that point, and who would be responsible for it. And then that comes into play with your automations and workflows. Now, if I want to assign a user here, on the users themselves, you can set up team roles. And as another video I talked about, all it does is make it able to be selected. That's where this comes in. I guess I removed them. So bad example, John, but this is where you can set, okay, I want Bob to be the acquisition manager here. I want to override this and make Bunky the lead manager, etc. Files, the way to think of files is you can have badges. You can put a badge on, or multiple badges on a single file. So a file could be a receive file, so they text in a picture. And I could also want it as part of my gallery, so it's right up here and easy to view. I could say it's a purchase, or it's a seller doc. They're like tags. You can tag a single file with multiple things, but we just call them badges. So if you're going to add a file, you can hit plus, select whatever badges are applicable, drag and drop, or click here to upload, select files and upload them, and they're here. They're already sorted for you. If you want to view them, come in here. If you need to download them again, you can download them. So this was a really fast walkthrough on the property details. There's a lot of information in here. This is where most of the time is spent in Peat when you're working on properties. But you can see we try to put everything at your fingertips, so you're not having to go from this place to that place. Go to this screen. Okay, I update this. Now let me come back, go into this other screen, come back, and let me go back to the first screen. We try to put it all right here for you, so you're efficient, you're quick. If you're on the phone with the seller and you want to look up some information, you're not fumbling around different places. So hopefully this was a help, and check out our other videos.